overlooked by the majestic Chugach mountain range. Its most famous feature is the spectacular 45-kilometer-long Knik Glacier.
All set, Stuart. Take the other strut, Gary.
In nearby Parma, two friends are getting ready for a sightseeing flight to the glacier.
Okay, clear on this side.
Taking the pilot's seat is Dave Akers, a veteran flyer with thousands of hours under his belt.
I've been flying aircraft since 1974. It's rewarding, it's challenging. Really love to fly.
Man, this is what I'm really gonna miss.
Texan Gary Knoll came north 2 years ago to work in Alaska's oil industry and quickly became firm friends with fellow outdoorsman Dave.
Really appreciate this, Dave.
We went out and did a lot of sightseeing together. We both had a mutual admiration for the outdoors. I would just jump at every opportunity I had to go fly with him.
I really haven't known Gary all that long, but, you know, sometimes you just click.
Dave's been teaching Gary the basics of flying, but this is their last lesson for a while. Gary and his family are returning home to Texas.
Okay, Gary, ready to go?
Let's do it.
The 80-kilometer round trip should take no more than 2 hours. Dave and Gary plan to be back before dusk.
We were in just real remote scenery. No power lines, no roads, no human intervention in the land at all.
Alaska is just beautiful. It's called the last frontier, and it truly is the last frontier. There's just, you can get away from civilization very easily up there.
The weather stays fine as they track the river southeastwards. And after an hour, they reach their destination, the stunning Knik Glacier.
It's probably some of the most magnificent scenery that I can relate to. And I've seen a lot of country in my life.
Time's up, Gary.
Eager to land the plane while it's still daylight, Dave turns for home.
And as we headed back towards the airport,
Hey, Dave, look over there.
I remember glancing over to my right shoulder and seeing this mouth of this valley just opening up to our right there.
Let's go check it out.
Dave has never noticed this valley before.
Hey, come on, there might not be no next time.
Okay.
Intrigued, he descends to take a closer look. But what Dave doesn't know is that this is a notorious spot where over a dozen planes have crashed before.
I had a lot of trust in the airplane and a lot of trust in my ability. Just wanted to kind of get a feel for the environment.
15 minutes later, Dave starts his climb out.
The valley was back behind us. I remember Dave just giving it full throttle.
We don't seem to be going up.
I did a quick instrument scan and noticed that I was going down at 200 feet a minute. I thought, something's not right. I immediately knew we were in a downdraft.
The aircraft is caught in a column of rapidly descending cold air. Its 145 horsepower engine can't generate enough lift to overcome the powerful downward force. The plane is now plummeting towards the ground at over 10 meters per second.
needed to keep my wings level and get my airspeed as low as possible because we were going to impact. I had no choice but to accept that.
I'll never forget him looking at me and saying, "We're going to crash." The impact was tremendous.
Just loud, and I thought, oh no, what have I done?
Just feel the plane skidding and sliding.
And then a big noise, and then the lights went out.
After skidding for 30 meters, the plane has come to rest. Over 1,200 meters up a remote mountainside.
One of my first thoughts was, here I am covered in blood. I had a hard time focusing my eyes.
Miraculously, both men have survived the crash. But Dave appears to be unconscious.
I look around and I see Dave laid back in his seat and his eyes are just rolled up in his head.
Dave.
I'm thinking, man, this is not good.
Dave. You hear me?
I immediately start yelling at him and trying to get his attention.
Dave, talk to me, man.
He was incoherent.
But their injuries are not the only problem.
Dave, we gotta get out.
Gasoline was just pouring out.
The force of the impact has ruptured the plane's fuel tanks.
Get the door.
The wreck could catch fire and explode at any moment.
Come on, man.
Gary must get his injured friend to safety.
Go! Go!
I'm pulling and tugging on him and trying to get him out of the plane.
Come on!
He's not responding.
Wake up!
I didn't have time to think, oh, are we gonna die or whatever.
Come on, man.
I just knew we gotta get away from the plane.
Come on.
Just kept yelling at him, come on, Dave, we gotta move, we gotta get out of here.
Gary finally manages to drag Dave clear of the wreckage and out of danger.
And the next thing I knew, I'm staring at the tundra. I recall thinking that we're two very lucky people to be alive.
Against all odds, Dave and Gary have survived the crash, but both have sustained multiple injuries.
I remember having a lot of pain up in my right chest and shoulder area. And then I looked up at Gary, and he had a pretty good gash in his forehead.
He don't look good. I'm okay.
Gary doesn't know it, but he has a serious skull fracture. Dave has broken 2 ribs and fractured his collarbone.
We needed to get some help quick, but nobody knew where we were at. I immediately started to feel guilty for what I had done.
Their unplanned detour means they're well off the usual flight path, and they've left their mobile phones back at the airfield. Their last hope is the plane's high-frequency radio. But to reach it means braving the fuel-soaked fuselage.
The gasoline was still just pouring out of the plane, and we just determined we had to take a chance.
Gary grabs vital emergency gear, while Dave checks the radio. A single spark could ignite the fuel, turning the wreck into a lethal fireball.
I reached over to the master switch. I turned on the radio to see if there was anything there. There wasn't any power. It was just dead.
It's a devastating blow. Out here, it could take weeks for rescuers to find them. Now there's only one option left. They must walk off the mountain while they're still strong enough.
So we gathered up everything we had.
The men decide to head for the Kinnick River, where they hope to hit a logging road. But they set off woefully ill-equipped to survive in the harsh Alaskan wilderness.
You reckon I ought to get a jacket? Ah, don't worry. We'll be up and back before you know it.
I was dressed in my shorts, t-shirt, my tennis shoes on. We just thinking we're gonna go out for a quick sightseeing trip, but it's not the way to be dressed when you're out in the wilderness of Alaska.
An inventory of the bag they salvaged from the plane reveals little by way of supplies.
He had a little emergency bag that had some peanut butter, some bandages, some tarps, some old towels, a couple of sleeping bags. It was pretty limited, but we were able to utilize some of the things in it. Before we started down the hill, I made a sling for Dave's arm.
Sorry about this. We gotta put a sling on this thing. Okay. Easy. Better?
Brink of extinction.
I've always been passionate about wildlife from day one. I mean, even as a child, I love the bush. I love Africa. It holds an endless fascination. I mean, it's always changing, and there's just so much to learn. It's like a book that just never ends.
Greg is one of the few pilots in the area, and even though he's busy with his own project, he's agreed to help a fellow conservationist search for a lost rhino.
People were very concerned about the rhino, and National Park said, would I assist? And I said, of course I will. If wildlife needs help, I'll help.
Greg's a capable pilot, but flying a plane and tracking animals requires intense concentration, and he'll be flying over unfamiliar terrain.
And I was aware of that, I was fully aware of that, but we had rhinos that needed locating. There were poachers out there. I mean, you can't turn your back. I can't turn my back on things like that.
An ultralight plane is a cheap and efficient way to cover the African bush, but is also very dangerous to fly under certain weather conditions.
Temperatures in the day can be very, very hot. Tricky flying conditions for a light aircraft. Because, you know, it's hot, the air's thin. So it's quite hard keeping the plane up in the air. This was a very harsh, dry, rocky, rugged area. I'd never flown that area before, and I realized I was in a completely different territory.
The rhino is electronically tagged, and in no time, Greg's tracking device picks it up.
I just found it. I hadn't actually seen it, but I realized that it was alive by this movement signal. And I was just starting to circle out. And as I turned the plane, suddenly I went into something known as a wing stall. Literally one wing's flying and one wing isn't. Suddenly I had this gut-wrenching feeling. I put full power on the rudder. Pulling back on the stick, I was doing the right thing, and it wasn't working. And the plane started to go down in a spiral. And the ground was coming up pretty damn fast. And then there's a split second. You know you've passed the point of any return. I almost didn't want to open my eyes. I didn't know what I was going to see, what I was going to feel, what I was going to find. I was totally dazed, stunned. And I was like, I'm alive. I'm alive. And at that second, petrol started dripping over me. And I just pulled myself out, literally almost fell out of the plane. As the petrol started to come down, I had these visions of this wall of fire. And I could just see myself being incinerated alive. And I knew my legs were doing nothing. I couldn't do anything with the legs at all, but I just had to get away from this plane. I mean, this thing was a nightmare now. And then I suddenly thought, Mayday. I've got to call Mayday. And I didn't want to go back to that plane. I didn't want to go near it. But I had to brave it, because I knew that that was my only means of survival. And I knew the quicker I got a message out, the better.
Greg has to try and make a call. No one knows exactly where he is or that he has crashed. He has no survival gear with him, no food, no water, and he's severely injured.
Mayday! Mayday!
And the whole handset was hot. The crash had short-circuited all the batteries and had literally fried my only means of survival, the emergency radio. And then something happened that literally just changed almost everything. The pain hit, because the adrenaline had worn off.
On the outside of his body, Greg has only a few superficial scrapes, but inside he is bleeding badly, and his legs are broken in 6 different places.
That was a pain that I'd never experienced before. Anything like it, anything that even came close to it. My legs felt like they were going to explode from within. My feet were just doing this. My legs were just one big lump of jelly. And I realized I had to stay in control. You know, I had to be in control of the situation, because if you lose control, that's it. I was going to be a goner. I started to try and take stock of the situation. And it was quite a harsh reality. I suddenly realized there was no 999. There was, you know, if I was going to get out of this, it was only going to be me and me alone.
Greg is over 70 miles away from the nearest road. By the time anyone realizes he's in trouble, it may be too late. The brutal heat of the African sun will bake him alive. If he survives that, he will face worse horrors. As night approaches and hungry predators come out to feed. Unable to move, Greg is easy meat. But right now the pain from his smashed legs is all he can think of.
There was this pain in my ankles. They felt like they were going to explode because I'd got these boots on. Yeah, and of course there was no space for the swelling to go. There was no way I could even get anywhere near my shoelaces. But I was thinking, if I don't get those boots off, there's going to be gangrene, and I'm going to lose my feet. I lose my legs. I managed to look back, and I thought, well, maybe if I can drag myself to this tree, I can tilt my body forward so that I can maybe get to my shoelaces somehow. I wanted to stop that pain. Because, I mean, it was like my foot was exploding.